Someone needs to do an intro.
It's starting.
What up?
Alright. I think it should start in a second. Hold on. I'm new to stream.
Let us know when we're on.
I'm too new to streaming. I need to see how this goes.
That's fair. That's fair.
We'll notice at the
That's
very
fair.
latest when it's like, oh,
Alright, we're on? We're on.
oh,
Alright.
we are.
Welcome
Oh,
to
hello.
Eastern Marshlands Evening with Comrades. With my guests tonight, Senna.
Hello.
Vienna. Was it sure?
Theo. Thank
Oh,
you.
Theo. And
Theo.
Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Ohayo minasan.
We
So-
regret to inform you that TK has ascended.
Yes.
TK has ascended, yes.
Yeah, he has become the GG, the gay god.
Senna.
But he'll be
Hello.
back Friday. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, being god, it's like a day job.
And
El
now
Fuerte rides again.
I'm filling in for TK this week.
God help us all.
Yeah, honestly, because I have no fucking idea what I'm doing.
Well, you figured
Dip-
out how to start the stream. That's half the way. Now you just have to figure out how
How
to
to
end
end
Okay,
it?
Preferably
dip
not
that.
now.
Yeah.
Dip Dab, if you're going to be TK, there are three things you need to master. First, casual sarcasm. Number one. Number two, incredibly
But
gay
you're back-
flexing.
back, Friday. So. Oh, I
You
can.
need to
And
master-
3, drawing a bunch of
No,
dicks and then adding me on Twitter with them.
Yeah,
Including
look,
drawing dicks on my selfies.
I'm filling in for TK.
I'm
this
not
week.
saying that he has
God
an
help us
obsession
all.
with male
Yeah,
genitalia,
honestly,
but
honestly.
Who
But he
doesn't?
definitely
I have
does.
Who
no
could
fucking
blame him?
idea what
Dicks
I'm
are
doing.
good. Anyways, let's...
no, TK is an impressive level of gay. I'd like to give a shout out to TK.
Mega
on stream when he
gay.
watches this himself later because he is the most beautiful gay man who I've ever hugged.
All right. So tonight we're talking about like the in relation to like how we think we can like actually engage with ideas on the right, and particularly those of more unsavory rightists, let's say. So I guess you'd start with that. So what are you guys' opinions
Yeah.
on
Fucking
like
fascists.
yeah, I mean how do we engage with their ideas without making them platformed?
Well, that is a very difficult question, and most of the time I do think the answer is to, well, of course, then ignore
Summary
them.
execution.
Well, that's a bit hard when they're in power, but yeah.
Says you. All it takes is a little effort.
To answer the question seriously, though, it's a very tricky question, and like you gotta tread that line between, you know, not engaging them when it's not necessary, because that does just give them a platform, and sitting there here and pretending to that they don't exist, because that's a shite idea as well.
Yeah.
For me, I think that one of the best ways we can deal with it is engaging with the idea but not the name.
Yeah.
So obviously not bringing them on our shows, but what I mean is like talking about the things they espouse without giving a face or a name to it.
Yeah, I do think that say analysis of fascist theory, for example, from like a perspective from in my case it would be a Marxist perspective, because you can but the thing is you have to like present, you have to construct a counter argument. You can't leave these points just unchallenged and put them out there, because
Right,
that
because
is
people will then
that is
latch onto
literally a
them.
platform. yeah, that's literally just giving them a platform. What you gotta do, you really want to engage these ideas,
You
you
have
need
to
to
break them down.
do. Yeah, so what you gotta do
Yeah.
is you gotta do it with a I don't know if that is a term that exists in English, but in German we call that a dead media, that as opposed to an interactive media. That would be writing, video, something that is already a finished product, does not change. You know, something that can't alter itself to escape responsibility, which is what fascist ideology tends to do in, like, say, debates.
Right.
Because
Well-
fascists tend to not have a coherent ideology.
They say and do what makes them feel good. Fascism is an exercise in self-validation. I mean, okay, so background, I was getting severely intoxicated at a work function last night, which is why I'm probably a little hazy, and apologies if I'm more edgy than normal. But there was someone at my workplace who engaged me in conversation because of his polar opposite political views. And you can imagine how that went.
Yeah,
And he was espousing the virtues of British imperialism.
I do think you're absolutely right there. Racism is. People aren't racists because they think racist beliefs are accurate, right? People are racists because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel superior.
Yeah. They're insecure about whatever it is, and viewing their race that's inherent to them as superior to others makes them feel better.
And that is why, like, fighting racists by basically harassing racists is so effective. Because people will not just come out and espouse these ideas as much, because it won't make them feel as good if it will earn them a harassment and just a shitstorm whenever they just go outside.
Yeah, the studies they cite ever are like either extremely old, use outdated data, or have insufficient data to make any actual claim. Because some guy
No,
in a
most of
server
the
I'm in
time, most of
used.
the time, most of the time, whatever they cite doesn't actually say what they say it says.
They look at the title.
Yeah.
Well,
Some guy in a server I'm in cited a thing about, oh,
Mm.
interracial people have more mental issues when they had a study of like 30 people, which is not a sufficient like study group.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
well,
You guys remember that infamous, like, study where it was claiming that, like, trans people had a suicide rate of what was it, like,
It was near
50%?
50%.
Yeah, near 50%. And of course, if you read like literally the footnote to the summary, you will already see that that is not what this study says.
yeah,
Because how do I put this? It's not suicide rate. It's, first of all, attempted suicides. To quote H Bomber guy, it was a survey. Surveys are no, it wasn't H Bomber guy. It was someone, a YouTuber. I forget his name. But to quote a YouTube video, um, surveys are usually not given to the dead.
yeah.
Like, and the implication that a fucking support network has no influence on how much, like, people kill themselves or try to kill themselves just shows a fascinating fucking idiocy. Like a complete inability to comprehend fucking
Scientific data or any papers. They look at the picture
no,
and they look at the title.
yeah. No, but I mean, they have they are literally unable to comprehend what causes mental issues.
They don't have
view it.
critical thinking. They
They don't know
have
how humans work.
they
Yeah,
look at the surface.
They view it. Yeah, they view it the same way they view, say, the flu. I actually, Now, this is actually an interesting segue because that's another topic we were going to. I'll talk about today: mental health. Um, so we're segueing right into that, so that's pretty cool. No, but like fascists and just right wingers in general really, really love the uh, well, really love. They are unable to view mental health in any different way than they view like physical health. But that's just incredibly reductionist and stupid because depression is absolutely different than the flu. Because it's not just something
I'm
you
pretty
catch.
sure I've seen people who actually thought you could catch depression.
Oh, God.
In
people-
in
there's-
Japan, that's how they market antidepressants because people in Japan
Yeah.
don't they think they treat it like an illness because like a physical illness because it makes them not feel weak and it makes them actually help.
Yeah.
That actually
People
is a
are
good point.
Which we talked
People-
about in my sociology class last term. We talked about how like in Japan it's like that's how they market it because like the suicide rate was really high because people felt fucking weak and then they wouldn't go get help because they felt weak. So then they marketed it as like a physical illness that you catch, so then they would actually go get help because it was like getting a cold.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Like, I'm gonna throw in here, like, it's always made me sort of uncomfortable when dealing with right wingers on this sort of topic. Because the genuine difference, the genuine physical differences and like their traits between different ethnic and racial groups, like I mean, you can like they've got all these studies done, and it's like evolutionary biology at work, literally. Like people from the African continent have high resistance to UV radiation. What, in a place with average temperatures of 38 degrees? Who'd have thought, right? But
Yeah, who'd have thought?
who'd have thought, right? But like
Wow.
the one thing that makes it ubiquitous and universal is that the human mind has shown an incredible, adaptability and productivity. You can track developments and IQ rates and all stuff because the one survey that racists always like to throw out is the IQ survey, right? Like, oh, look at the IQs of the different races. But then if you look at the map, the map overlay, you can see a direct correlation between imperialist powers and non-imperialist powers.
Yeah, because the way that the IQ is calculated is very skewed towards our specific kind of education. It tests for a very specific kind of knowledge.
And the
Yeah.
countries with
Yeah.
higher GDP and higher wealth levels and stuff are inexorably more intelligent than the ones that want. Like, look,
Well, intelligent, educated, I'd say.
yeah, rather, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
But it's like, look at this. Look at how smart all us wonderful Asians and white people are. And it's just like, where's all the money in Asia, America, and Europe? Oh, right. The people who can afford education and the people who bomb everyone else's country so they can't have schools to go to.
The people who
what,
have
what
the
a
natural
shock.
resources and like all of the monetary resources. And yeah, only bro in the chat is right. Japan is the height of late stage capitalism as of right now.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
oh, not even that. I think it like Japan. The thing about Japanese culture is that I've always wanted to do a video on it. Is like, as an Australian, Japan is quite literally the polar opposite of Australia culturally in that regard. Like, and this is a good thing on mental health. Suicide rate amongst teenagers in Japan is just like the figures would astonish people if they actually looked into them. Like, student suicide is fucking nuts.
It's
the amount of pressure.
If I may butt in here for a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna out myself here. I am autistic. I have depression. And I think what hurt me the most overall is the pathologization, just my autism. my specific thought patterns, autism is a way that the brain has developed that starts in the womb, that outs itself, or rather, that what's the term? Shows itself in various different.
Yeah, presents itself and
Yeah, presents that. Thanks, that's the word I was looking for. It presents itself in various different ways. It's different for everybody, but it's consistently. I think what is important to note is it is not an illness in the way, say, a neurological disorder would be. Nothing is like actually broken. Everything is working as intended. It just, I like to compare it to how some hard drives are formatted. So most hard drives are formatted for like Windows, but there are other formats of hard drives, and I'm guessing my hard drives are Linux. Now,
I mean,
if I try
yeah.
to load a hard drive that's formatted over Linux into like a Windows computer, it's gonna say the hard drive's broken. But it's not. It's just unable to read from that. And I think I like that analogy because a lot of the problems that autistic people face, when dealing with the neurotypical world, stems from miscommunication and the insistence on neurotypical capitalist society insisting that every deviation from the norm is a fault, is
punishable and socially
yeah,
ostracizable.
yes,
Of course, because communism forces us all to be the same, right, Phil?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have never felt so accepted in these things that I A can't do anything about, and B don't want to do anything about. Like, this is an important thing. Autism to an extent is part of my identity because I was always autistic. I will always be autistic. And a me that isn't autistic wouldn't be me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's like how those groups here in America talk about finding a cure, quote unquote, while not trying to
Fucking dehumanizing.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
dehumanize
Yeah.
people, and they also treat it as if only people who are assigned male at birth can get it. Some people actually believe that.
Yeah. 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 That,
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like
I'm
here's
just gonna
the
jump
other
in.
I'm
Oh, go ahead, Senna.
I haven't like gotten an official diagnosis or anything like that, but like Humbuts, you can vouch for me. I most likely
not
am.
just me, but quite a few other autistic people that we know.
Yeah, like it's kind of a subtle thing where if you don't really know what to look for, you wouldn't notice it on me. And like I also have my boyfriend's roommate who's one of my friends. He's also autistic, but you would never really notice because yeah, there's a lot of us who kind of trained ourselves to act normal.
Yeah.
Like realized, oh shit, that's a weird thing we just did. People don't like that. Gotta stop that. Even if it sucks, like I even do some of the more typical stuff, but I try not to do that when there's like other people around. Like if I get really excited about something, I'll like flap my hands actually, and it's
And
just
it is
like
adorable. I would like to add it is adorable. Carry on.
fuck you, baby. Anyways, yeah, it's just like, and it's like I basically had to teach myself how to social, and I didn't really start making solid friendships with people until middle school because up until that point I was the weird kid and nobody liked me because like, oh ew, she's weird. That's what the fuck is wrong with her kind of thing.
Yeah. I would like to ask our two uh other people here. Are you Dip Dap and Peter? Are you two familiar with Autism Speaks?
What is it?
Mm,
What like the what? Sorry.
Autism Speak.
Oh,
It's
like
a
the
group
one that
on the
like is like a
internet.
really shitty and like really abusive to like autistic kids.
They are a they are a self-proclaimed support group, but here's the kicker: they are not a support group for autistic people. They are basically a group that spends their time talking about how brave and how strenuous parents of autistic people are, and what a chore and a burden it is to have an autistic child, and they basically pretend like adult autistic people don't exist.
It's basically people with Munchausen's by proxy, because they're shifting like
Yeah.
the attention from the people who are neurodivergent to their struggle
Yeah,
to
like
get attention, because that is Munchausen's by proxy.
to quote my mother, who well, worked with autistic people for a very long time. Um, fucking, it's not the struggle of neurotypical people deal with neurodivergent people. It is the struggle of autistic people having to deal with all the neurotypical bullshit. To
And having to
paraphrase.
deal with a neurotypical society.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
there's a huge like I forget what the English word for it is, but like dark number
We live in
people.
a neurotypical society.
No, what I meant is there's a huge amount of like people who are on the spectrum and will never come to realize it for, well, among other things, the fact that it is something that you are ostracized for, even if nothing has changed from you before. But if there's a name on it, there's, if it's explainable and if it is abnormal in a sense that goes beyond simple personal choice, you're ostracized for it. You are basically labeled a defect, and
Yeah, you're labeled a defect, and you're
yep.
oh, recall time.
I mean, I am a defect, but in very different ways.
But no, you're not. You're an angel.
I'm going to jump in here with this one.
Yeah.
This is my favorite one because I'm going to flip the paradigm on its head, ladies and gentlemen. I like it when people, you know, that whole crowd that says vaccines cause autism.
Oh God, yeah.
Here's my favorite response to this. This man that I'm reading about or have read about is known as Jonas Salk. He was the scientist who cured polio, the polio vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When he was 13, Salk entered a public school for intellectually gifted students. He was described by his fellow peers as socially awkward, distant, but a perfectionist who read everything he could lay his hands on.
Yeah.
That is a massive signal for autism. So,
Well,
ladies and gentlemen, vaccines don't cause autism. Autism causes vaccines, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, based.
By the way, that description of him, I feel really called out.
Yeah, I know. I
I
think
kind of
everyone
do
is.
too. Fuck.
Honestly, this is an incredibly hot take, but I suspect that between 30 and 50% of the population are on the spectrum. It's just that society has convinced us that, oh, it's just,
You're just a little quirky, honey.
yeah, and like
Kind of quirky, though.
but it's always
Yeah.
framed as a defective thing, which pisses me off to no end. I would also
Yeah.
like to give a shout out here to Brigadier General Strike, who said neurodivergent gamers rise up in chat.
Okay, but the reason we're talking about mental
So-
health
Ex-
tonight is in
Like, it's okay. It's
okay.
okay.
The reason we're talking about mental health tonight is in relation to the death of that YouTuber Etika, because
yeah.
Yeah.
talking about like the spectacle of like mental illness online.
People, neurotypical people, I do have to specify that, that have no personal experience with mental illness have this incredibly degrading view of people with mental illness. And
It was
Oh, yeah.
it was a fucking
It's
circus
like-
show to them.
yeah, Like, I make jokes about depression. The problem, the thing is, there's a reason I get to do that, and it's that I used to be in a much worse place than I am now. It's less
Oh,
punching
yeah.
down. It's just budding fun at myself, and I know where my own barriers lie, where my own boundaries lie, and I know when someone is uncomfortable with me making those kinds of jokes, I don't cross that line. That's important. There is an amount of respect that you're supposed to hold in interpersonal relationship, and people, very online people, mostly neurotypical um dude bros on the internet that have no fucking clue about any sort of social cues, love to fucking what's the word? Uh I lost my train of thought. See, that's actually another thing, because of that, it's kind of like I've got a honeypot in my head, and it's like a morass I gotta wind through to collect my thoughts.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh no, I got it again. People essentially do not understand just the magnitude with which mental illness can affect someone. But you see, of being affected by something doesn't mean that you are broken, that you are defective.
Right.
And I absolutely fucking hate this idea of mentally ill people are defective and oh, they're not able to do things as much. It's like, we would never ever apply something like this to somebody that, I don't know, the foot. Like, we wouldn't go, oh, because people that go, uh, oh, just just depression could be cured. And then it's like, fucking, that's kind of like going up to an amputee and going, come on, dude, grow your leg back. What are you waiting for? It's easy. I have a leg. Why don't you have a leg?
Come on, grow your fucking leg back like a lizard grows its tail.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, even if you don't have boots anymore.
Well, you see, this is where the virgin human being versus the Chad axolotl comes in, because you see, you know, Latinos aren't the only ones coming over that wall, ladies and gentlemen. The axolotl is coming because he can grow his leg back.
Oh my god.
The axolotl master race is approaching us.
But yeah,
I'm
like,
fine with this. Axolotls are adorable.
this guy was 29, I think, when he died, last week, or even this week. I can't remember which one it was. But
It was this week.
people were essentially making him a public spectacle for months because he had a mental illness.
Yes.
Yeah.
People loathe divergence from the norm. When somebody acts weird, there's a very specific reason that autistic became such an insult for Chanas, and it is that this being passionate about something, being divergent, being able to devote yourself to something, and not being stale bread and butter, is seen as this weirdo thing you should never do. And this is why I find it so deliciously ironic that the NPC meme came from fucking Chana boards, when fascists literally glorify being boring and stale.
Oh yeah.
And being,
Look.
completely cardboard cutout, worker ants.
Yeah, you know that fucking image of SpongeBob where he's round, it's like, hello, I'm normal, from that episode.
Yeah,
Mm.
but they want
That's
that
what I
just
always
racist.
think of when I see these people. Yeah. Hello, I'm right.
Hello, I am
Like-
racist.
I mean,
Hello, I am racist.
Oh God, Jesus.
yeah. Look,
Prepare
okay.
to assimilate.
No.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
I mean, seriously, you see, the thing is, there are all these jokes online, and I was very guilty of it when in my more edgy, problematic days, which are still not over. Let's be honest. But
Here's the difference, Peter. Here's the difference. You don't make the jump to fucking actually demeaning, neurodivergent people for being a bit strange. Because that's the sort of mindset we have going on. Be normal, assimilate. That's what.
Act like
that's what we've
everyone
got to-
else. Come on.
Yeah, but communism is when everybody is the same.
well, you see, the thing is, people say weaponized autism like it's a bad thing. I don't think so.
Well,
see,
Peter,
I, for one, suggest autistic supremacy.
I am
Well, that-
a weapon
yeah.
of mass destruction. I am the autistic Tsar bomber.
The autistic Tsar
you
bomber.
make my
Yeah.
heart explode, honey, so yes, you are.
Oh,
Like this
Real
person was
wholesome.
having like cries for help for like months, if not years. Like holy shit,
Mm.
people don't pay attention.
And sometimes
Yeah.
they do, and they find it funny. Like, there are genuinely people who would watch someone trying to climb their way out of a chasm before plummeting to their death, and they'd find it absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and then they'd go on fucking Instagram and add over like a bass boosted song and put XDDD funny joke.
Yeah.
I feel
People
very
do not
personally attacked by now. But
Well,
anyway.
doesn't matter if you do it to fascists, because that's another thing. That's another thing. If if we make jokes about someone that killed themselves, that's punching down. If we make fun of say Mussolini being murdered, that's punching up because Mussolini was a fucking dictator.
Well, you
Oh,
see,
yeah.
it's the same old story, but it's a true statement. Hitler wasn't a bad guy. He killed Hitler after all. You see,
yeah, that's
this
actually
is the thing.
this is actually a really good example of that because it's not
I
making
mean-
fun of mental illness. Really, it's making fun of
An
Hitler
individual.
being yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
let's
but
face
his-
it, he probably didn't do it out of mental illness. He was probably just a fucking coward.
Yeah, he was
okay,
evading responsibility.
In defense,
Are we ready to move on to the third topic?
What?
Or
Hold
what?
on, hold
I
on,
was-
hold on. I think
I-
Peter was about to say in defense of Hitler.
In
Alright.
defense of Hitler, I think he does have a sense
That's
of
a
mental
quote.
illness because I don't know.
That's a
I don't know anyone who thinks that declaring war on England without a navy is a good idea. But you know,
No, he
had a
was
plan.
just stupid.
That's a quote, by the way, Peter.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right, fair enough. But you know, I don't think anyone in a rational state of mind goes, "Hey, I'm going to declare war on England without a navy. This is a great plan. I have the best plans. I make the best deals. I made a deal with Uncle Joe. Great guy, fantastic guy. I've known him for years."
Wait, hold
anyway.
on. Are you doing a fuck? Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Did
You
that-
see the intellectual
Yeah.
quality of this stream just went.
All right. Before we move on to the next
Crash.
topic, if anyone wants to donate to Eastern Marshlands, there should be a link in the comments, and you will have your name on screen. I'll do a test donation now.
Let's
Give us-
get on that shill treadmill.
Give us your money.
Give me
Your,
money.
your
Buy
ca-
me coffee.
Give us your money, car, your grandma. We'll take anything. Credit.
Or
We'll
the
take
very
anything.
old conservative joke. Give me your toothbrush.
You see,
Yeah.
we'll take anything. We'll take credit, Visa, human blood.
Your kidney?
Human
I mean,
blood kind of tasty though.
Kidneys are pretty
Honey.
good.
What?
Peter!
Irony.
Okay.
I
What's the
okay,
third
You
topic?
Dip
really
that.
expect
What's the third
anything?
topic?
All right,
Did
but
I
our
just wanna
third
see
topic tonight
The chat reaction.
is on the Hong Kong
Our
protesters
third
and
topic is the chat.
and
Sit down,
G20.
son. It's time for an intervention.
We're doing a call-out post on the on a fucking stream
Oh,
chat.
Fuck, I
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah,
I
that's
forgot to
exactly-
press to talk. So
Okay,
talking about
Shout out to QTQ for a second in the chat for someone with an absolutely based Lily display picture. Just throwing that out there.
Nice.
Lily from Zombieland Saga, best girl. Let's be honest. Anyway,
Yes.
moving on.
on the Hong Kong protesters and the G20 shit in Osaka.
Yes, I have seen a little bit of that, but not very much, so I'm a bit out of the loop. So if you could
Well, okay.
get me as well as the audience into the loop, very.
Well, I will
appreciate
say that in regards to the Hong Kong protests, I'd just like to take us all back to an early day in June where absolutely nothing happened ever with the Chinese government.
it.
Are we clear on this, ladies and gentlemen?
Nothing
The Dengists
happened.
did nothing wrong. The Dengists did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. Okay. Are we clear on this?
More like Dengists, more like ding dongists.
Hello, can we have our economic zone back?
Can we
Socialism
have
was
our
really
special
nicely.
economic zone back, sir?
You see, ding dongism. It's socialism with phallic characteristics.
Or Jehovah's Witness
Master has
characteristics,
presented
depending on
Dobby
your
with a
perspective.
sock. I mean, an economic zone. Whatever.
With a stock.
Oh my
Yeah.
god! Okay, where is my?
The capitalist
Ushanka? It's
class
cold.
has
Where
given
is
Hong
my-
Kong a stock.
I mean, what's the difference between an economic zone and a sock? I mean, I think the only difference is you come inside the sock, but
You
not
can
the
come
other stuff.
inside. You can come inside an economic zone a lot.
A lot of
Mm.
people
Room.
do daily.
Like
That's
Have
true,
you
but it's
ever
a different. I had a different kind of in mind. You know.
Okay, but essentially,
I'm cursed.
back on Wednesday, there were protesters outside the American consulate in Hong Kong, and they're continuing to like flood the streets and throw tear gas back at the police, and they're calling for international support of their protests against the Beijing government.
Okay. Would you mind if I kick us off? Just
Yep.
in.
Go ahead.
It's the age-old situation where you have shitty people, the Dengists on the one side, and then you have liberals on the other side. And here's sort of the here. I think this is the decision, quote unquote, that we would have to make. Because both are working with, supporting both is class. Either of them is class collaboration.
I mean, yeah.
So it's now this is a bit of a hot take, and it will probably get me cancelled as a liberal or whatever. But I do believe that it is advantageous to being able to organize in a liberal democracy as opposed to a police state. That's
Yeah,
kind of a
oh
fact.
yeah.
because like basically, the way I see it, like Dengist fucking China is like borderline fash, if
And they
not
are-
actually fucking fash.
And they are literally imperialists. Like they go into fucking
Yeah.
East Africa. I forgot my cardinal directions there for a moment. Now they're going like into fucking East Africa and extracting their resources for profit, which is literally Lenin's definition of imperialism.
Building islands.
Okay, but it's
like
only
building islands in the
imperialism
South
when
China
like
Sea.
the U.S. does it
Oh, right.
clearly,
I-
and they're doing nice things like building roads and stuff. It's like, it's totally fine. That is literally the argument the fucking Dengists are making about
Yeah,
it.
it's like how the British imperialists used, but they're building trains in India, yeah, that don't carry people, it carries fucking resources.
I would like to add to this that the French are forcing their former colonies to pay reparations to them for the expressed reason that we build roads and you are going to have to pay us back for them for the next 700 years. That is not hyperbole, that is literally the stance of the French government.
Okay, real
exception to this-
talk.
The exception to this being Vietnam, the Vietnamese just shot the French.
Look, real talk, right? Real talk. Everyone has a go at the Americans and the British, and rightly so, but honestly, the French, like, fucking.
Mm.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah, the French suck.
God, they are the fucking
The French
worst.
literally deploy like military operations.
Only
disrupt,
bro, I
like-
do not know if the Falun Gong are, like, actually involved. Falun Gong, I think, is more popular among, like, weird the mainland. Also, only bro, in chat, talking in Chinese.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
alright.
什么是
No, back to
中
Hong
国
Kong,
毛
though.
泽东之以共产党 Alright, yeah.
although going back to Hong Kong is always this hotbed. Like it is the clash of like two different ideas of well the conductment of a capitalist economy. On the one hand, with well, it's not even state capitalism. It is not even state capitalism. It,
It's
you know
just
how we like
capitalism?
yeah, no, it's like how people power is intentionally concentrated within a few people who are it's basically capitalism but with the government at like the center.
Zizek
So
talks about, like, the Chinese model in, first is Tragedy, then is Farce. I highly recommend reading that portion of the book. Where he talks about the two diverging roads of capitalism, of like, European, like, hunky-dory, nice capitalism, and then, like, Chinese, like, Xi Jinping capitalism.
Remember, comrades, without the Communist Party, there would be no new Toyota Hilux.
There would be
sorry.
no new NES bootleg.
Ladies and gentlemen, they've announced a tariff on Xboxes and PlayStations. Gamers, rise up. Gamers, rise up. Now is the time.
yeah, no, but Hong Kong is that hotbed of this confrontation between these two understandings of the capitalist mode of production. They are the same economic model, but they are different ideas about them, different spins on them. And I'm usually always inclined to support rioters. I suppose it is the inner smashy person in me.
Same,
just,
honestly. Like,
Um,
my take is, yeah, like your milquetoast liberals are not good. You don't support them because they're good, but it's better than the opposition.
also a big reason why people in Hong Kong are rising up is because they were denied the concessions that they were promised by the central Chinese government.
Oh yeah.
Their autonomy, which they were guaranteed by agreements they've made with the Chinese government. And then the Chinese government went ahead and then appointed a governor anyway. And personally, like, I'm a councilist. I believe in democracy to the highest extent. So, when we have on one side a bunch of people that wanted to be able to elect a person independently. Now, of course, it's electoralism, which is not actual democracy.
Yeah,
But
it's the capitalist
It's still
fetishized
better
democracy.
than having
Yeah.
like absolutely
point-
nothing.
my point is that people wanted to have an election. The majority of people in Hong Kong wanted to have a fucking election. The Chinese government went like, yeah, okay, but you can only elect this guy. Or rather, they selected the
Here's
people who were
our
eligible
here's
for
your
Hong
like
Kong
Twitter
says
poll
we want an
choices.
election. China says we have an election at home. Election at home.
the
This shit.
Yeah, and as a result of these development, yeah, that's another thing. Like squalid conditions.
Oh yeah.
Definitely
Only Bro
add
in
to
chat
that.
talking about how, like a large amount of Hong Kong people are like living in like coffin
Squalid
apartments.
conditions. Yeah. Like, and people were promised the world, and none of that, was followed through with. Of course, they're gonna go out on the fucking streets and fucking throw fucking folk back at the police. It's just kind of the natural reaction when, well, of what happens when you go like that. And I view it in the
This
same light that I view the you know Peter was talking about it earlier, Tiananmen Square. Um, it is the expression. Well, although Tiananmen Square was a lot of like Maoist as well, but the thing is, it is an uh, what's the fucking word? It is an uprising against unjust conditions imposed upon them by what, in their eyes, is a foreign occupier.
The people in Hong Kong
Yeah.
have a vastly different view than like mainlanders. I mean, for fuck's sake, they speak a different language.
This is the thing that really gets me about Tiananmen Square, and when you get, I guess you could say, literal tankies defending their actions. Here's the one. Like, I know it's not socialism just because you call it socialism, but have any of you guys actually like watched the interviews of the people in Tiananmen Square? Have you seen them? Like the groups. Let me just look. The Beijing Students Autonomous Federation, the Beijing Workers Autonomous Federation, university students and factory workers and Beijing residents. Like, it's the same thing with the people in Hungary. Yo, excuse me, Mr. Jinping. We really love the Communist Party of China and this Marxism thing. Can we have some now? No. But we want communism. No.
Imrenage. Hey, Khrushchev, can we have some communism? We have communism at home. Communism at home is just a T-55 tank.
During
It
the
literally is that. Like a lot of these movements, like hyper authoritarian groups, play it off as like, oh yeah, like the state had to do what it had to do. I'm like, guys, they weren't saying fuck Marx, we want to be with the capitalists. They're like, say, hey, you promised us communism, let's have communism.
During the Shanghai Commune in January of 1968, there was a piece published called "Wither China," like WHITHER China.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, they say, the China of tomorrow will be the world of the commune. So I will parrot that and say, the Hong Kong of tomorrow will be the world of the commune.
I think
it's
it's a
I've
big
noticed.
difference.
I think
I think they might make more capitalist in the Hong Kong protest, though, if I may say, in order not to be cancelled, it does really reek of the same thing as the Occupy Wall Street movement. Really, it smells of it's liberal backlash. I don't see proletarianism here.
Yes, but it is liberal backlash against what is essentially
The rising
Look,
tide
the
of capitalism.
liberals
Imagine-
rarely ever make a stink about anything bitching on Twitter. I say we congratulate them on this.
It's like, Peter, imagine if the Australian military or like the Australian police tomorrow started policing cases in New Zealand. That's sort of what they're feeling like, you know. Someone in New Zealand suddenly gets arrested by Australian police. Of course, they're going to be like, "What the fuck?"
Ugh.
Or
that's
or
not-
if like
what?
I know you're Commonwealth, but like if literally the like the regular English government walked in one day.
Oh,
Oh,
you
fuck
mean like-
no.
Oh, you mean like how they could a Australian prime
Whitlam.
minister? Yeah.
You know, the most left-wing prime minister Australia's ever had, and they got rid of him. Like, Gough Whitlam was the first Western leader to meet Mao. Like, you know, and he declared free university for everybody. And like, you know, and I'm just like, you know, and he got cooed by the royalists. What a fucking shock. I think Hong Kong to me is just a shit show. Like,
is.
really?
But to get
I
back
mean,
to like tankies, feeling an insistence of like defending authoritarian governments is that a lot of them are people that fetishize strongmen, and
Oh yeah.
they are those people before they are communists. They are authoritarians before being, well,
They're literally great man theory.
Yeah.
well, the thing is, my introduction to communism was Trotskyism, so you know.
Here's the thing. I don't care what you come in from it. The thing is, if you fucking like, if you manage to stay in a movement like this for longer than like 2 years, and you still fucking like, I don't know, stan fucking Muammar Gaddafi and Ayatollah Khomeini and the likes, or fucking Putin. That's another big offender.
Oh
Well,
yeah.
I just like Putin for his meme game, to be fair.
Well,
Because
yeah,
his meme
mean,
game is
like,
pretty strong.
Russia is currently like the worst place to live in, like,
Oh,
period.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you especially if you happen to be a woman of any description, because
Oh yeah.
this is not often talked about, but Russia basically not basically, they literally decriminalized domestic violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is not talked about
Only bro in
often, I
chat.
think.
Which group in mainland China is more cursed? Boomers or Zoomers? I mean, boomers are either like hardcore Maoists or like just Dengists. And the Zoomers are just bruh moment basically. I'd say the boomers because like there are some groups in China right now that are all right with Zoomers in them.
Personally, I think that uh it's less part of the international struggle. But what I like to compare the current like political situation to is, it reminds me a lot of the like years that were the runner up to the French Revolution, where
The sort of like pre-boiling point times.
yeah, where the royalists were where the king was trying to placate his people with, you know, empty trinkets, and it was getting less and less effective. And then you had like small overboilings, and they started escalating more and more and more, and well, eventually they stormed the Bastille, and that's how a lot of like revolutions begin. It begins with the usual tactics of, placating the people no longer being effective, and that's what's
Yeah.
starting
It
to
goes
happen.
until concessions no longer suffice.
Yeah. Somebody asked another question in chat, by the way.
Um, a lot of people in China right now that are young are just absolutely complacent. They don't really give a shit. Or they're just so depressed that they can't fathom doing anything to change it. But there are groups in China right now that are alright, like Chuang, which are like a communist organization.
Yeah.
Chuang's alright.
Like, with me being from Europe, I don't have the biggest experience with Southeast Asian politics or just East Asian politics in general. My focus lies like mainly on Central and Eastern Europe and the Balkans, because that's what I have the most contact with. I know a lot of people from the Balkans.
Yeah, my study is mainly Japan and China.
Yeah, and
I study it in an academic setting.
Yeah, and I don't really have any of that academic background. I feel like I'm best like keeping the majority of what I do to, my area roughly, which is, the US. Cuz that's what I know best, and I don't want to be that asshole. Actually, all of this, blah, 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 while actually not knowing fucking anything, because a lot of Americans do that, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah, but the way you usually enunciate your opinions on things that you don't have the biggest experience to, I think it's quite alright, because you just state your opinions on things, and you don't go out and tell people, hey, this is how you should run like your people.
China is a burgeoning cyberpunk hellscape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, if I had to characterize my academic background, just to jump into that final point there, it was my academic background is I take a very generalist approach. I like pick the major book from every single ideology and read that instead of focusing on just one. So at least I have a general. I try to do this thing in everything I study.
There. I feel you
Where
there.
like I don't try to specialize. I literally my approach to learning things is like I try to embody the phrase I don't know everything about something, but I know something about everything, because
like
it just helps.
okay. The most painful experience, the most excruciating and fucking annoying thing I've ever done in my entire life is like I have read Hayek's Road to Serve, and it was
Oof.
the most grating experience I have ever experienced in the 20 years of my entire life. It is the most incoherent, flat out wrong, and fucking baseless uh joke of an socioeconomic analysis in the world. And the fact that Americans take Hayek seriously uh,
Shows we're
makes
dumb.
me I it's just so fucking incomprehensible to me. Like, this clown insists that if you like have taxes and use those taxes to to fund public services, that's literally like medieval fucking slavery.
Oh my god.
Ooh, only bro in the chat. What are your thoughts on YouTubers like Serpenza and China Uncensored? I don't know who Serpenza is, but I know China Uncensored is like peak liberal. They think that China's like actually like a communist state, quote unquote.
Oh god.
and they think that like Xi Jinping is sponsoring Marxism and like postmodernists around the world. They're dumb. They're absolute
when
idiots.
I love when the Marxists start arresting all the Marxists, you know.
And like all the
And
all the
like,
inter- all the
I
international
saw this meltdown on
Marxists.
Twitter. I saw this huge meltdown on Twitter when the Chinese government had their crackdown a few like months ago and arrested a bunch of like left-wing activists, and it just confused uh right-wing personalities try to like rationalize it, and it was just so funny watching them try to come up with bullshit reasons why they could do this and still be like the big force of leftism in the world when like China's
I th-
fucking
I
it's a
think my favorite
huge
one was the time that I think you remember this, Theo. Was when fucking the Chinese government arrested a guy for celebrating Mao's birthday.
oh yeah
Oh my god.
I
Alright.
was like,
Now, Theo,
yeah.
you're talking about
Yeah.
Hayek being the most cursed thing you've read, right?
up until this point, yes.
I have a cursed book collection
Oh no.
of books
I mean,
like Xi Jinping's on the governance of China.
Oh god.
It hurts me to read
I
this
think
book.
I think the worst thing I've ever read. I don't want to be a stereotype, but all of you know me. The worst thing I ever read was the complete bumper edition, the Coalition of James Mason's Siege.
Did you
I
actually read from cover to cover of that book?
yes, I did.
I envy your fucking emotional and mental strength.
I like look, I will not lie, I had to do the second half in audiobook form while doing something else, but I did make it to the end of James Mason's Siege. I'm going
What's your
to
synopsis?
reread it.
What's your synopsis?
Synopsis, long story short, it's the same thing is that it's hilarious. It is based TM. Because it enunciates the evils of capitalism, which I thought was quite interesting, and then simultaneously ties it in.
Here's the thing: right wingers oftentimes see the problems and uh, pain that
And
capitalism
mislabel them as
causes,
socialism or
but they are
something.
absolutely unable to find like any coherent explanation for them because, well, the only coherent explanation kind of blames the faults on the system on the structure of the system. What?
Yeah, it devolves into the Jewish conspiracy. Number one, the dilution of the white
God.
race. It also goes into natural selection writ large. Like,
And like
so
terrible tactics about strong men go fight. So strong men future, unlike how they think like how strong men will not exist if all strong men die, dumbass. If
Like,
you're if
yeah,
you're
well,
believing this shit,
yeah.
then you would think that all strong men would die, therefore there would be no strong men left.
I'm sure all of you by now have heard this meme of like, strong men good create good times and whatnot, and then
Yeah,
Yeah, great man theory.
yeah, it's like no, and also now I like to annoy right wingers with intense deconstructionist theory, where I go, okay, but why is it inherently good to be strong? Why is and it pisses people off. Like it pisses right wingers off when you ask
Because
why.
they take it as a given. They take it as like
Yeah,
like an
the state of
absolutely
society.
given
Yeah,
political axiom.
to right wingers, the state of society is the state of nature.
Or even their idea of what nature is based on a bastardization of like Darwin.
Of yeah, well, on a actually based on a bastardization of current state of society, of their perception of the current state of society. that is like nature, because I think it is a very good analog is like um see if you compare the you know left right axiom to the argument nature versus nurture, where leftists believe that society is molded, that society is not immutable, that it is created by the circumstances that we live in, and right wingers ideologically rely upon um, nature as they experience, like society as they experience it, being the result of nature, being like this is just how it is. This is how it's always been to them. This is how it will always be. Am I making sense here, or am I?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
we've been going for about an hour, and is there any other like topics you guys want to talk about regarding current events?
Um. Well, I'd like to butt in real quick that somebody like tried to assassinate the leader of the far right party here.
Oh,
Powerful.
nice.
Well, they were an Islamist, so um
Which I mean,
Critical support.
for ISIS.
yeah. Well,
Well,
not
also,
ISIS,
well,
not even ISIS. They're not even affiliated with any terrorist group. They're just a
well,
guy that
but the
lived
thing
here
is,
that
like,
was associated with.
individual terrorism
Yeah.
does nothing to help like the international struggle.
No, it doesn't. But
Okay,
I just want.
way to go,
I
Leon.
just, I just like to I just like the fucking headline, because it was like, perpetrator arrested with firearm and 174 rounds of ammo.
How
Oh my
many?
God.
174 rounds of ammunition.
And
How many people
how
was
come
he
he did?
attempting to kill?
One.
So
Are
I
Austrian
think
politicians like demigods or something?
well, no, I don't fucking know. I
Well,
know because they were.
here's the thing. Here's the wonderful thing. If you have that many bullets to pump into a single body, by the end of it, no one's gonna know who the fuck that was. Like, you're gonna turn that guy into mincemeat.
I mean, well,
A
former leader
shepherd's pie
actually.
of a shepherd's pie of a politician.
Actually, former leader, he had to resign because he tried to sell state assets to Russian oligarchs on Ibiza, and the entire
But
government had
it's,
to be dissolved, and we're having re-elections and stuff.
Are there
but-
any updates on that from last week?
Um, let's see. Let me think. I think we had a poll. Let me look up the poll. Neuwahl. A sec. Sorry for the delay. My computer's a bit slow.
Yeah, you're right.
It's okay, honey.
Let me see. Wahlumfrage.
Also, baby, guess
But yeah,
what?
only bro.
Yeah?
I do believe. I don't think they own China Uncensored, but I do believe that Falun Gong does slide them a bit of cash under the table.
Yeah.
Falun Gong is basically the Chinese equivalent of the anti-vax movement in America and the Western world.
Oh.
Where they're like, "Oh, yoga will fix your problems. Don't go to a doctor. Cut your family off. Cult time."
Okay, let's see
Yikes.
which of these fucking things I trust, because you have to be very careful when looking at like Austrian polls. Most of them are done by news outlets, specifically in right wing areas of the country. So I'm gonna trust Sora. That's the institute that does it. Well, that does the most reliable ones because they are a non-profit organization.
The
Sora.
liberal media.
Well, independent media, and like Sora are like often criticized by right wingers for having a quote left wing bias, when no, they just lack the right wing bias literally every other piece of media has. Anyway, Yeah, the Conservatives are still in the lead, but the SocDem Social Democrats are gaining on the far right, and the Greens have gained exponentially from in April they were teetering at like 5%. Now they're up to 12, 13%.
Nice.
Environmentalist
That's a
parties
pretty big jump. Holy shit.
environmentalist parties are on the rise here, and like I would be all for that, especially considering the fact that the Austrian Greens are basically just the Social Democratic Party, but further to the left,
Mm.
and they want to fucking expand public transportation like a lot, which I would love, and I've seen them do it in Vienna. No, they were...
Yeah, Only Bro again said that Falun Gong is homophobic and hates like votes and shit. They say if your family isn't in the group, cut them off and shit like that.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
But oppressed minority group, the Chinese government stamping on their religious freedoms. Ah! Sorry, what?
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. I think that's all from me. If anyone else has anything to butt in.
Anyone
No,
have
I'm
anything
really-
important?
I'm really sad that Iran isn't getting more airtime because I was
You'll
kind
get-
of hoping. I'm hoping it's Boogaloo time, but no,
Peter.
we have to keep waiting.
Do we have to stand for nuclear war this late into the stream?
Yes, because okay.
It's not a stream
Unironically.
with Pac-Man unless we talk about nuclear war.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've got a
fair.
good point. But it's just, I just feel as though how quickly that died off. Like for the past couple weeks, it's been nothing but war with Iran, war with Iran, war with Iran, and then everyone was like, no, and then all of a sudden the press has just died.
I'm fairly certain that what caused the US to just sort of chill their balls was the realization no one is going to go fucking fight alongside them.
Yeah.
Anything from you, Senna?
Oh boy. About the US being what it is. I'm almost positive that the thing Trump pulled with trying to fucking, get Iran was like basically, because here's the thing. If they almost did it and really came close, and really we have no one to verify that to my knowledge, but their word on it, so for all we know, they may not have even used the jet fuel on it. But it was definitely, especially the fact that they then announced it. It's an attempt to try and that and everything else that's been going on lately, it's an attempt to get Iran to make the first move so that they can claim victimhood.
They're trying to make it so they can be retaliatory.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
all
Off
that
of
they did
Pumpkin
with
2.
except how do I put this? The current chief of state is a lot less skilled at not looking like a fucking jackass.
Oh yeah, no.
No, but I believe that's
I think
everything
that's
from
it.
us.
So
Yeah.
I guess for my out, it would be keep your eyes on Hong Kong, and if you have a mental health thing, actually get help.
Yes.
So
You are not weak, you
Yes.
do not have a problem. Well, I mean you technically have a problem, but not like it's no failing of yours.
You are not the problem. That's what
Yeah.
Senna is trying to say.
It's just shit happens.
Yeah.
Shit fucking happens and it sucks.
Now, unironically, autistic people rise up. We're gonna form a militia.
Yes.
Like if we were put in charge of a fucking artillery unit, we could fucking calculate positions within a second.
Oh my god, yeah.
Will be a thing.
Basically, we need
Anyway,
autistic people who are math geniuses. Sign the fuck up, come on.
so what you're telling me is that we need artillery.
you took the joke from me, goddammit!
Yeah, no, but Uh, what I'd say is things are heating up in a slow and steady way. You know, we get our fucking flashpoints, but overall things are heating up slowly. It's like, you know, when you're cooking a pot of water, you get a few bubbles, you know, early. But it takes time for it to actually start boiling over. So anyway.
So you can find everyone's Twitter in the description. You can find our SoundCloud link, iTunes link, our Ko-fi rather, Patreon and donation links, as well as the rest of EML's Twitter links in the description, and also our Gmail.
Yes, I I mostly post about innate bullshit, but feel
So
free to follow me.
I guess
Yeah.
this is it, and this has been Evening with Comrades from Eastern Marshlands.
Yeah.
Watch more anime.